guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah and you're tapped into Oh Have Y'all Seen? So I've already done part 1, but we're going to be talking about HBO's newest documentary series called Chimp Crazy. If you're interested in seeing episode 1 or my review on episode 1, definitely check it out. The video is available on the channel. But in this one, we're going to be, this video, we're going to be talking about episode 2. And when I tell you the end had me gagged, like I was literally like, oh, like I audibly was like, it was a good ending. They did that with that ending. But let's get into episode 2. Episode 2 opens up and we see Tanya with white cream on her lips sitting in a pedicure chair at, I guess, some back alley health spa. I don't know, because it didn't look clean enough. Okay. And the man that was doing the injections, I do not think that man was a doctor, a nurse, a PA, anything in health. Because I was just like, why is he dressed like he about to go tailgating? I'm confused. So we see her, she's sitting there with this white cream over her face, getting numbing cream on her face to get lip fillers. And she constantly is like on her phone, like it looks like she was like ending a call. While she's even on the table, while the man is injecting her lips with the lip fillers, her phone is constantly going off. And we find out that that's Peta. If you watch the last episode 1, you remember that Tanya was in a lawsuit with Peta and her co-defendant was Connie. So Tanya and Connie lost their case to Peta. So Peta was legally well within their right to come and seize all the animals off of Connie's property or her chimp foundation, where she was breeding the chimps. There was only 7 chimpanzees left on her foundation. So you actually last episode saw the police roll up in there deep. And I mean deep. The sheriffs was ready, locked and loaded, as well as there was a rehabilitation organization called, I think, the Chimp Project, that came to like take the animals away and take them to Florida to a better like reserve so they can like roam free and get a healthy diet other than McDonald's. Because they even showed a clip of Tonka eating out of a Happy Meal box. I'm like, why was McDonald's the thing that you chose? Like, I know fast food in general isn't good, but I was like, you couldn't give them Subway? At least Subway got vegetables in it. Heck, go to Panera, get them a salad. But every time we see these chimpanzees, they drinking Powerade, they eating cupcakes, and they eating McDonald's. Why? No wonder the boy had an enlarged heart, because that's what Tanya is telling people. So Tanya ends up telling Peta that Tonka died. And Peta don't believe her. We actually get introduced to a new general counsel of Peta. Her name is Brittany. And Brittany is like, don't nobody believe that Tonka is dead. Like, we know for a fact that she moved him. We just don't know where she moved him. And Tanya's whole thing is she did like an interview with the news saying that like they had a veterinarian actually come out, do an x-ray on Tonka. They actually showed the x-ray and his heart does look very enlarged. And the vet basically said that he pretty much is either in heart failure or he could be heading that way. And I said, it's probably due to that diet and him being cooped up in a cage all day and not getting any exercise because the space is but so big, ma'am. So she told Peta he died. And so Peta is like, okay, do you have the death certificate? Because you're telling us, because she told them they got him cremated. So they're like, okay, you got him cremated. Where are the remains? Where's the death certificate? Where, like, when did it happen? How did it happen? And Tanya's being very, like, aloof and not really giving them the real tea about what really happened to Tonka. So then we actually see Alan Cummings, and he is, like, detailing how he feels about Tonka possibly being dead. So he's just kind of like, Peta is saying that he's not dead. I'm just like, well, y'all, this is crazy. Like, if he is dead, I hope he's in a better place. If he's not, I hope he's in a better enclosure, like in a rehabilitation center. But either way, like this is too much for me. Alan is like, bro, I'm kind of tapping out after this. So then the screen goes to a different town. We're back in Missouri, but not in the same part of Missouri where the Chimp Foundation was, where Connie Casey lived. We're actually in, where are we? In I think it's called Lake Orca. Missouri, and it's 2 months after Tonka's disappearance, and we see Dwayne, the proxy producer, going to Tanya's house, and Tanya is in a brand new area. She has I think 20 acres of land. She got a bunch of exotic animals, goats aren't really exotic, but she has goats, a camel, there was a few kangaroos. She also had, I don't know what they're called, but I see them all the time in nature documentaries about the Amazon, but these cute little, they can't be no more than this big with the little snout thing like that. But she has a bunch of animals. She also has gibbons, which are on the endangered species list. So Tanya basically says that she is trying to create her own private petting zoo, and she also wants to get 4 white ponies that she is going to dye their mane hot pink and put glitter in it because she wants them to be unicorns. I said, my God, today, Tanya. My God, today. So Derwin ends up asking Tanya, well, how are you able to afford all these animals and all of this land? Because her house is sitting on a nice piece of land, and it's an old house, and they're renovating the house. It has a nice sized pool. It's a beautiful piece of, like I said, a beautiful piece of land. She has a decent sized house, and it's kind of like, yeah, girl, where you getting all this money? Because when we saw you last, you was living on a camper on a compound, and we know you ain't had that much money. So then Tanya basically lets us know she's a exotic animal broker. I said, I don't like it. I don't like it. I feel like it's wrong. It's so wrong. So basically, anytime that people are doing exchange of brokering money, she actually goes, picks up the animals, and she garners deals for these people, and she advertises on Facebook, which is crazy to me because I'm like, you're not allowed to sell things on Facebook anymore unless it's through the marketplace. But the way that they showed Tanya selling on Facebook was just her posting pictures saying oh, I got 2 cute little boys, and maybe she's DM me for the deets, but she ended up selling 2 baboons. She got more capuchin monkeys. I don't know what the little monkeys are, but she had those monkeys. She was she don't trust anybody to transport her animals, so she transports them to the people. We got a clip of her bathing with it was too much going on. It was too much going on, and I was like, Tanya, you doing a lot. You doing a lot. You doing a lot, Tanya, and I don't like it. It continues, and we see Dwayne is now all he's been at the property, but we now see him help Tanya out by feeding the different animals that are on the property. He's asking her a few questions about Tonka, and she is explaining how he was one of the ones that was in a lot of the movies. They actually show footage of him being in the different movies, and she was just she fell in love with Tonka the moment she saw him. She was just when I would cry, he would wipe my tears. He would even pat the back of my head when I was sad to tell me to cheer up. And then she talked about him touching himself in front of her. And I said, I don't know. No, Tanya. And she's he would do it, but I'd be Tonka, stop that. But he would go in his hammock and do it. And then Dwayne is so he was shy in front of you. And she was yeah. And I was I don't like it. And then I don't like how she said, Tonka was a humanzy. And I said, girl, what the hell is that? And she said, half human, half chimpanzee. They put the human in Tonka. I said, see, this is why people think you crazy. This is why people think you're deranged and crazy, ma'am. So we then see this scene of Eric, the actual director, and Alan Cumming sitting down and talking about Tonka. And Alan is showing pictures of him and Tonka. And Eric is do you often get upset or feel some type of way when people call you a hypocrite? Because you did these movies with him and now you're advocating against it, and they can never put monkeys or chimpanzees in movies anymore. And Alan is no, that was 30 years ago pretty much, and I was at a different place in my life. I was very much I thinking that this was okay, but now being where I'm at now and advocating against it, I know it's not okay. And there has to be a different way. And so he also has this portrait, not portrait, but this painting that Tonka did when he was on the Buddy movie with him, where he actually put his hand on it. And Alan was talking about how he was somewhere in Bangladesh, or I think he said Bangladesh or Budapest. Either way, he was overseas filming a movie, which he was like hating the filming process for the movie, and because I guess it was not going well. And someone who was close to Tonka or close to like the set kept the actual like painting that Tonka drew and like or painted and gave it to Alan, and he still has it. And he said he had it in his hotel room. He was like, he would look at it and it would make him happy. He said sometimes you just can't explain how animals like will touch your life. So he's just hoping that Tonka is okay. We then go back to what's her name, to Tanya, and Tanya is like, they're calling me the monkey mogul, like saying all these horrible things, like I faked Tonka's death, like why would I do that, like I would never do something like that. I even told Peta they can come and search my house if they want to. So then we end up seeing Jared, the lawyer we saw last time, who's had this case against Tanya. And he was like, yeah, she offered for us to search her house. But then when you look at her house, it looks like she has no room for an enclosure. So we definitely don't think Tonka is on her premises. So why would we search her house? Episode jumps off of the whole where is Tonka of it all, and now we're talking about chimpanzee Travis. And I remember this story. I remember it being on the news when I was a kid for like a really long time. I also even remember the Oprah special where they revealed the lady's face who Travis attacked after her reconstructive surgery. So we end up meeting this lady named Carrie. Carrie is the stepdaughter to the owner of Travis. Her name was Sandy, and her husband's name was Jerry. And pretty much Carrie is like, she wants to talk about Travis and Sandy because she feels like there's this narrative out there about Sandy, and Sandy was a good person. This was just a bad situation. So we find out that Sandy was Carrie's third stepmama. So her daddy was a Rolling Stone because he ended up having a fourth wife. Crazy. But we find out that Sandy and Carrie really had a good relationship. Carrie really liked Sandy, so she kept in touch with her. Carrie one day went over to Sandy's house and she was like, what are you doing? And Sandy was like, girl, we about to go get us a chimpanzee. And Carrie was like, from where and from who? Girl, Miss Connie Casey is from where and from who? So we find out that they paid $40,000 for Travis from Connie Casey. So they brought Travis back home. Everybody in Stayham, Connecticut loved Travis. I guess it was a pretty small knit community, but everybody loved Travis. And Carrie was like, we love Travis. It just felt like Travis was a part of the family. He just couldn't speak to us. They taught Travis how to use the toilet, how to microwave his own food, and how to drive. And he was drinking drinks. He was drinking beer and everything. Like, they treated Travis like he was a part of the family. And they also used Travis to be like their advertisement because we found out that Sandy and Jerry had like a towing company. And everybody in the community knew who Travis was. The police knew who Travis was. They took pictures with him. People would just come to the business that Jerry and Sandy owned just to play with Travis. So people was cool with Travis being around. Now, I think they got Travis back in like 1995. That's what the Wikipedia says. Now, I'll drop it, the link to the Wikipedia down below in the description bar if you want to read it for yourself. But there was an incident around 2003 where things took a different turn for Sandy and Jerry and Travis, because at the time they pretty much took Travis everywhere. They took him to the beach, they took him driving, they took him to the lake. Like, Travis was with them 24/7, and Travis was even featured with celebrities. Maury from the Maury Povich show, he was in an Old Navy commercial. Travis was really living his best life. But right around the time when Travis turned like 6 or 7, Carrie says she knew that Sandy and Jerry were really struggling with taking care of Travis because his behavioral issues. And I feel like he's not having behavioral issues. He's a grown 20-pound ape. He's acting like an ape, but they were struggling with him. They could not corral him. He's no longer this cute little like chimpanzee baby or adolescent that you can like play with. He is now a full grown adult, and they're struggling with him, and he weighs 200 pounds. But Carrie says Sandy felt like Travis was her child, so she was not about to like give him up to other facilities that could handle him. So in 2003, a situation happened where Sandy and Jerry were driving in downtown, wherever they live, and Travis jumped out the car. So he was just roaming around town, and Sandy and Travis were Sandy and Jared were trying desperately literally to corral Travis back into the car, but he just wasn't going. And we meet this officer by the name of Officer Frank, who was like, at the time, it was funny. Like, nobody thought like it was that big of a deal because Travis wasn't hurting anybody. He might have been like pushing people on the butt or patting them on the butt, but like he wasn't attacking anyone. But after a while, it got tiring because we was out there for like 2 or 3 hours and telling everyone they had to stay in their house because we could not get him back in the car until he felt like it. After like the 2 or 3 hour stalemate, they finally got Travis back in the car because they told him, hey, we got ice cream. You want to go get ice cream? And he said, I bet. Let's get in the car. We then meet Sandy's friend Nadine, who was like, the mayor was pissed. Like angry, and the mayor ended up creating a law where they were like, if you have a monkey or an ape that's over 50 pounds, you have to have a permit for it. And because of that situation, Carrie ends up telling us that like Sandy and Jerry decided to keep Travis at the house. So Travis was no longer going out on the town with them. He was no longer allowed to drive. He was just confined to staying in the house in his cage or just roaming around the house with Sandy and Jerry. And Travis was over it because it's like you gave him freedom and now he ain't got no freedom. He's just stuck in the house with y'all. He on house arrest and he don't like it. So there came a point where Jerry ended up getting sick. And unfortunately, they find out that Jerry ended up having stomach cancer and he died. And that really affected Travis and Sandy to the point where Sandy became a hoarder, just buying any and everything to fill the void of Jerry not being there. And Travis just became very different. Like Carrie said, you noticed like he was a lot more like reserved and he was a different type of Travis. And because he was still cooped up in the house, you could see he was kind of going like stare crazy. So Carrie was over there one day, saw Travis rocking back and forth in the cage and just like shaking his head. And she was like, I would try to get him out of it and it would snap him out of it. But then he would just look at me for like a couple of seconds and then go right back to doing it. And so Sandy was like, hey, why don't you bring your kids over? So at the time, Carrie had like 2 adult sons. And I think her oldest came with her who, maybe he was like 18 or 19. I don't know. But she said he was pretty big and at the time and he was like 6'1" or 6'2". So they show us a video of Carrie's son playing with Travis, where Travis was out of the cage. He was happy to see Carrie's son. He decides to take off Carrie's son's shoe, and like Travis wanted Carrie's son to like chase him, and Sandy was like, go chase him to her son. So he started playing with Travis. Next thing you know, Travis got a little too rough where he was like pulling on the son and like was yanking him down, and it looked like he was about to bite him in his back. But then Sandy was like, Travis, stop. Then all of a sudden Carrie is now like, oh, this might be a dangerous situation. You didn't think it was dangerous when there was a 200-pound ape who what are you talking about, Carrie? Because when you see the video, legit, like Travis is like yanking down her son. And it's like, yeah, he probably could almost like break his arm or dislocate his shoulder. So then now all of a sudden Carrie is like, yeah, that's when I realized it's a bit much going on. Girl, now... So everyone could tell that Sandy and Travis were struggling with the death of Jerry. So you got Nadine entering the chat again, being like, hey, girl, why don't you come, like telling Sandy, like, hey, why don't you come with us to the local bar to go get some drinks to get your mind off of it, to get you out the house. And Sandy's like, okay, bet, I'm on my way. And on the day of the attack, she was supposed to be meeting up with Nadine and some friends, but Nadine ends up getting a call from Sandy being like, girl, Travis stole my keys to my car and I'm having difficulties getting the keys from him. You go ahead without me. I'll be over there in a minute. Like, I'll meet you up in a minute. So then their friend Charla was like, hey, I'll come help you get the keys from Travis. Now, they do show that Charla knew Travis when he was a baby. They show pictures, like, so it wasn't like she was a stranger to Travis. She ends up bringing this Elmo figure because Travis likes Elmo a lot. So she's thinking like, okay, I bring this Elmo figure. He sees it. He'll probably like, we can maybe do like an exchange. Give me the keys. I'll give you Elmo. You know, that's it. Well, that is not what happened, because when Charlotte gets up to the house, Travis is already outside with the keys trying to open up Sandy's car. Charlotte gets out the car, tries to give Travis the Elmo. Travis snaps on her. snaps completely on her and proceeds to attack Charla. Like I said, Travis sees Charla and snaps and goes into a rage. When the paramedics finally were able to get to Charla after he attacked her, Charla lost her eyes, her lips, her like part of her jaw was missing. He broke like 9 of her fingers, and like I remember them saying like her brain was like exposed because her skull was messed up. And then you hear the 911 call of like Sandy being like, oh my God, he killed her, he's eating her, like he went off on her. And mind you, with me going on Wikipedia, I found out that like Sandy had given Travis a Xanax smoothie because he had Lyme disease, and they said that might have caused him to be way more aggressive. But you hear her screaming on the phone to 911. She grabbed a knife and was like, it was a regular kitchen knife, stabbing him in the back. It was like a cutting knife, a butcher knife. She's calling 911. She's like, get here. Like, he killed my friend. And then you see the police pull up. They're saying, like, honestly, it was such an eerie sight. Officer Frank was like, I'm sitting in the car. I see blood everywhere. He's like, it was like a scene out of Jurassic Park. I'm sitting in the car. Travis comes up to the, like, on the passenger side of my car. He is shaking my car like something out of Jurassic Park. He was like, he went around the car to the passengers, like, no, to the driver's side where I was. He was like, we locked eyes. He is growling at me. His teeth have blood all over him. And he proceeds to rip the door off of the cop car. And Officer Frank said they made, Officer Frank said he locked eyes with Travis, and he said telepathically he feels like Travis, like he said he heard a voice in his head basically say, like, and he felt like it was Travis telling him, I can't take this anymore, like, please end this. And he opened fire and shot Travis 4 times, and Travis still didn't go down. He pretty much like crawled back to like he ran back to his room into the house, and he died in his bed. And if you know the story, pretty much like the lady had to get, Carla basically had to get full like facial reconstruction. Like, she doesn't have her eyes, she didn't have her lips, she didn't have a nose or anything like that. I think she actually ended up trying to sue Sandy, and they ended up like settling for like $4 million, even though they were suing her for $5 million, like Carla's family, for like medical bills and everything. They were also trying to sue the state of Connecticut because they felt like somebody should have like taken Travis away from Sandy and Jerry, but they were like, Travis never exhibited aggressive behavior before, so they were like, there was no reason for them to like do that. I think, so this all happened in 2009. So Travis was killed in 2009. And then shortly after that, in 2010, Sandy died from, I think it said like a blood clot or an aorta aneurysm or something like that. Because I was wondering why she wasn't a part of the show. But yeah, she is no longer here either. And like the whole situation is wild. The whole situation is wild. Back to the whole "Where is Tonka" story. We are back with Tanya. She's sitting at the house watching movies of Tonka, of Buddy, that movie that Alan Cummings was in, laughing and giggling. We then get back to Jared, the lawyer that we saw last episode, and that has beef with Tanya. Or really, it's a one-sided beef because Jared is really giving like, I'm just doing my job, but Tanya can't stand Jared. She can't stand Jared. She talking about she got voodoo dolls for him. She calls him PB Herman. She threatened to run him over with her car. She was like, last time I would have got him if he wouldn't have been on the sidewalk. I was like, okay, ma'am. But Jared ends up explaining to us why people are able to have chimpanzees, even though chimpanzees are covered under the Endangered Species Act of 1973. He says that it covers wildlife chimpanzees, but it doesn't protect captive chimpanzees. So PETA has been working tirelessly to get captured chimpanzees covered under the whole entire Endangered Species Act, and they actually did achieve it. Or now that they were now like captive bred, or chimpanzees are now underneath the Endangered Species Act. So now it makes it a lot harder for people to have them at all, like unless they are in like accredited zoos and stuff like that. So they show like B-real footage of PETA doing all of these lawsuits trying to get these animals in better spaces and better conditions. And we then go back to Tanya. Tanya has a whole fit about the animal crackers because I guess PETA petitioned for them to take the bars away, because I guess they're supposed to be like in a traveling like circus, like a train car with the bars. And she threw a fit when Dwayne was giving it to her. And she was just like, you see how stupid PETA is? I know for a fact Tanya is one of them ladies who threw a fit about Starbucks changing their Christmas cup to a red cup. I know, because I was like, girl, this is nothing for you to have an attitude about. They just like, they changed it. Ooh, okay, we good. She was irritated. She said, I will not eat these because of what PETA did. Okay, so you said you liked the snack, but you're not going to eat the snack because you're mad that they changed the logo. That's dumb. That's dumb. That's dumb. Okay, this is dumb. So we then get back on PETA versus Tanya. So Jared ends up explaining that they asked Tanya to prove that they had Tonka cremated, because they kept asking Tanya, where is he? And she kept saying that he died. And she was like, they had him cremated. So Tanya sends over paperwork where it says that they cremated Tonka in the back of the woods of the facility. And they did it at 165 to 170 degrees. Well, Jared is like, that's not hot enough to break down like flesh and bones. So they didn't believe him. Also, they said that the person that signed that said that they were like an embalmer or they do cremations was a name by the name of Jerry Segway. And we find out that Jerry is Tanya's husband. And she didn't tell them that. They found out that Jerry was Tanya's husband. I said, see, Tanya, you playing games. You're playing games, Tanya. You're playing games. So then Tanya decides to show us like the ashes that she says that are Tonkas. Girl, when you look at it, it looks like a bag of sand. Like I've done sand art before. It looks like that type of sand. And then she has it in like this, as gaudy and as extra as Tanya is, you know for a fact if Tonka died and she had his ashes, she would have had a statue to immortalize that, like Walt Disney holding Mickey's hand. She would have did the same thing with Tonka. She would have had a statue of her and Tonka where she like buried him or put his ashes. And the box that she had the ashes in was like some raggedy box that you could probably get from like TJ Maxx or Ross with a paw print on it. And she was like, well, if they want a piece of his ashes, they're welcome to have it if that's going to keep them off my back. I said, you're lying. You are totally lying. You know where Tonka is. You know where Tonka is. So then Tanya ends up saying that they were rushing on the paperwork because of all the harassment from PETA, that they forgot to put a 0 on the 165. They were like, it was supposed to be 1,650 and 1,700, not 170. But she was like, PETA kind of just disregarded that. And I mean, of course they was going to disregard it because they found out that the man that signed that paperwork saying that like Tonka was dead and they did the cremation was your husband, ma'am. What are you talking about, Tanya? So then we see Tanya at the at the tanning booth talking about she just can't wait for this chapter of her life to be over so she can get away from PETA. She was like, I'm an open book. I tell everybody everything. I said, okay, girl, you tell everybody everything. So then PETA is like, they really do not believe that Tanya is telling the truth about Tonka. So they actually like have employ like a plan to like use drone footage to like go to all these rehabilitation places, to go to zoos, to go to these auctions. They have their people go undercover to see if they can find Tonka because they really don't believe that he's dead and that Tanya is telling the truth. So they finally get a break because at first they were just kept coming up short, that this psychic reached out to PETA and called them and told them that one of their clients is friends with Tanya, and that the client said that Tanya does have Tonka because in the text message she told her friend like, hey, I need to go get Tonka some groceries. So Tonka is definitely alive and Tanya got him. They just don't know where he at. So now Peta feels like, okay, we got a break. We got a break. We got this, okay? We gonna get Tanya. We gonna find Tonka. This story is going to be over. Because Jared is like, he's wishing for this story to be over. Because you got Tanya wishing that he gets divorced from his wife, that she's like stalking him online. She say they stalking him online. She's always talking negatively about him. He's just like, at this point, I just want to close this chapter of my life and move past this. So we see them have online court. It's 2000. She's getting sworn in. They're doing it over Zoom because, the pandemic was still like heavy. We end up meeting this doctor by the name of Dr. Fredericks Snow, and he is a forensics anthropologist. And he was like, I've never done a case about monkey remains, but I was intrigued. So he was like, something about this story ain't right. So we actually see him go to a pet like crematorium where this guy by the name of Dean, like he owns it's called Patriot Pet Cremations, my bad, y'all. And they use like meat, like beef meat, as to be like, this could be Tonka's bones. Like everybody's bones is basically pretty much the same. So they put the bones into the like the machine that cremates like the animals. And when they're done doing it, you see like it's a pile of bones. So off rip, they know Tanya is lying because they're like, she keeps saying that they cremated him out back and all that was left was ash. But even at the temperature that they said that they burned Tonka's remains at like 1,650, you still have bones like there. Like you still have bones. And the guy was like, in order to get them into like the ash, or like not ash, but I don't know, what you call it, grainy kind of sandy like composition. We actually see him put it in a machine where they ground it up to make it one consistency. But I'm not gonna lie, the ending part of this whole entire episode had me laughing because you see Dr. Frederick take up the ashes of the bones and he lays it out. He like pulls it out and then he does this, like, see, she lying, pretty much, like she not telling the truth. So he actually gets on the call and is like, yeah, from like our trial test, I don't believe that she's telling the truth either about the cremation. They actually have her do like a detail how she found Tonka dead, and the reenactment had me weak. Tanya is on that call giving her best Oscar performance. I walked in there and like he wasn't breathing, so I grabbed like this PVC pipe, like it's not that big, it's just a PVC pipe, and then I poked him and he wasn't breathing. And she's no tears, but then at the end there's tears. And then while she's on the phone, she ends up calling Jared a bastard because the judge is like, let's give you a minute to collect yourself. But when I tell you I screamed when I saw that Powerade bottle hit the ground, I said, y'all are foul. You then have Jared asking her, like, we have proof of a text message conversation where you're saying, I got to go get Tonka groceries. And she's like, well, Tonka's the name of my capuchin. Like, I have a capuchin monkey that I renamed Tonka. And Jared's like, when did you get the capuchin? And she said something about, like, at first she said, no, I got him in June. But then she's like, no, I got him in July. So, like, everybody, even the judge can tell that she's lying. But Peta doesn't have enough proof to, like, really prove that Tanya is in contempt of court, that she is holding, Tonka hostage somewhere. So the judge pretty much tells Peta, like, we can't do nothing about it. We really can't do anything about it. Like, we really can't. And so they're like, she's good for now. So she immediately, after the case, like after the judge says we're good for now, she slams her laptop closed, immediately gets up, chugs a Coca-Cola, like just drinking it. And she's like, we won. Her husband comes in. She was like, we won for now. We won for now though, but we won. And she's like, yeah. And Dwayne is standing there like, I guess it went well. And then she immediately calls Connie Casey and she's like, we won. We won. And Connie's like, oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then I think this is the thing. This is the thing. I think Tanya didn't know that they were still filming because I don't think she would have showed us where Tonka was. I do not think she would have showed us where Tonka was because the camera footage looked a lot grainier than it did when she was in her kitchen after doing the whole like we won hugging on her husband. So she walks down to the basement stairs and we end up seeing Tonka, and when I tell you I audibly gasped, I was like, girl, you had him. Like I knew that like I knew he wasn't dead, but I didn't think she had him in her basement. Like I was shook when I saw that saw him in the basement. I said, in the basement? And the crazy thing is, when episode 1 opens up, he is in her basement. I didn't put that together that he was not at the compound, at Connie's compound, at the foundation. But like legit, he was in her basement. Like the opening scene of episode 1 is literally him sticking his arm underneath the cage, like playing with Tanya. And then you realize that like janitor size closet that he is in is actually in her basement. I said, oh my gosh. And then you think about in the episode where Jared was like, Tanya said y'all could come look at her house. And you were like, well, there's no enclosure big enough to be there. Y'all should have went to the house because she got him in the basement. But I really do feel like Tanya didn't mean to bring Dwayne downstairs with her. Or Dwayne went downstairs with her, but he had a camera hidden. Or somebody had a hidden camera because the footage was definitely a lot grainier, and I don't think she would have exposed herself that quickly. Well, no, because the moment she shut shut her laptop, she was like, "Oh, they're never gonna find him," or she said something to that effect, like they're not gonna find him. We won, or something like that. And the fact that she called Connie Casey, I knew that they had that chimp, and I said, "Girl, why can't y'all just let him be free? Why do y'all like why, like I just don't understand. Like they say they love these animals and it's not even love. It's all about their ego and control because you can't tell me you love, like she can't say she loves Tonka when he is like 200 pounds living in a cage. When the other animals were able to go to that rehabilitation center in Florida with a lot more room with other chimpanzees to interact with. You don't love him. You're selfish. Like if Connie is selfish, everybody in here who decides to own exotic animals are just selfish people in general. Because I'm like, it's one thing to have like a snake. Snakes don't really like, they live kind of sedentary lifestyles, but to have a chimpanzee that is like a communal animal and to isolate it and then have it in a small enclosure, you don't care about that animal. It's your ego and you not liking the fact that there's an organization telling you can't have it. Mess. But I was shocked. I was shocked that he was in the basement. Yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. As always, remember to be bravely authentic and definitely hop down in them comments below and let me know your thoughts. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.